Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Amphibia, episodes 19 and 20. The finale. Fun facts, I'm only recording this a couple days after recording the last set of episodes because, honestly, I just kind of wanted to get to this. With the last episodes and everything, and just how this series has evolved in general, I've kind of become more interested in it. Like I said last time, though, it's not anywhere near the level of stuff like Ghost of Mile McGee or Owl House, but it's getting better. Like, more consistently better. Which is saying a lot, honestly. And with the setup that it made last time for this finale, I want to see how this season ends. Because, as I said, while it's likely that I'm at this point going to continue into season 2 reactions some point in the future, I think that I still need to see this this finale to make that decision for sure. So obviously in the afterthoughts I will let you know whether or not I will continue this going forward. But yeah. So, things I'm expecting for this finale. I'm expecting to see Sasha and the Toads of the Tower again. Like, we've only really seen them once or twice. Once for Sasha, and I think twice for the Toad. Well, actually, maybe 3 times for the Toads. I think we've actually seen them more often. But the point is, we've only seen them a couple times, and Sasha only once, and it's like, it's clearly been setting things up. And I think that this finale, based on everything else as well, with Anne getting the sword, with Hop Pop hiding the music box and everything, it's setting up for a lot of things here. I don't know if everything will be answered in this finale. Probably not. But I'm still excited to see what is answered and what we get information on. Now, if we do get Sasha in this episode, and in either of these episodes, and if Anne and Sasha do come face to face, just based on what we saw in, I think it was episode 10 with Sasha, I have a feeling they might come to disagreement. Sasha is much more, for lack of a better term that I can think of at the moment at least, she's much more aggressive than Anne. Anne can fight for sure, and she can be scrappy and competitive, but she's not really an aggressive person by nature. While Sasha seems to be willing and able to go like further, to push the boundaries. And because of that, I think they might come to a disagreement as to probably a few different things. Because we know Sasha's working with the Toads and helping them out, and Anne might not like that. Especially with how the Toads have treated the frogs that she's grown to care for. So there might be some butting heads there and maybe even a fight. That might be where the sword comes in, or we could have maybe Grimes get involved as well in regards to that. I think his name was Grimes. Maybe there's no S. Is it Grime or is it Grimes? I'm not sure. The Toad guy who ran the tower. But there's definitely some build up there that if they do come head to head in this episode, I think there's going to be some butting of heads, just how different they seem to be. We still haven't seen the third girl yet. Again, I think I said last time, I think her name is Marcy or something like that. Something like that. And again, I know of her because just social media and seeing stuff even when I wasn't watching this. But I don't know like all these details or anything, so just a few things here and there about the future of the series. Um, but yeah, we haven't really seen anything from her yet. Outside of, I think there was a flashback at one point, but I might be wrong. But it's like I want to see more, and I want to actually like truly get introduced to her character. She's kind of the missing member of the trio. Like they're shown in the opening in that picture, and just in general in the opening. So it's kind of wild. While we've gotten Sasha, we haven't really gotten her at all. So I don't know if we're going to get that here, but yeah, and just in general, I think this finale, it's got to be big. With all the setup and everything, there has to be some kind of payoff. Plus, it's a season finale. You have to make a season finale just something special. And considering how beloved this show is, I honestly would be surprised if it wasn't. I'd be very surprised if this finale was not something exciting. But we'll see. We'll see. I also don't know if they're actually going to do a two-part finale for this. I kind of left it for doing these last two episodes together, but I actually don't know if that's actually going to be what happens. Episode 19 here might just be one more slice of life episode, with episode 20 being the finale, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what the exact conflict is going to be going into it. I don't know pretty much anything. I can just guess at this point, based on the context clues we've had throughout the season and everything that's built up to it. But I'm definitely interested to see how they end this off. Like I said, it's going to determine for sure if I'm going to continue into season 2 for these reactions. And like I said, while it's very likely I will, I'm not going to guarantee it, because this finale might bother me enough to where it's like I just kind of lose interest. It's possible. It's very much possible. I mean, hell, Steven Universe definitely did that for me with season 5, I think it was. The final season of the main series before Future, when it just completely fucked up the payoff to everything that the series was building up. The entire, like, face-off in Homeworld and everything, which was totally fucking bad. Just not even dumb, just bad. It was so poorly written. But I'm not getting into all of that here. I've talked about that plenty in the past. But yeah. I'm hoping that this sticks the landing. Because, as I've said before, I want to be proven wrong on this series. I want this show to prove me wrong and to actually impress me. And yeah, there's been certain episodes that have definitely impressed me, but I want the series as a whole to really do so. And so far, it's not quite reached that for me yet. But like I said, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. Season finale. Let's just get this going and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, what's Sasha's deal? It's really fucking obvious. There's something going on with her. Like, even back in the 3 months ago flashback. I feel like there's almost a reason. She seemed very clingy towards Anne. I'll talk about this more in a minute here. Let's actually go in order. So let me see here. just so I can get the titles right. Okay, so episode 19, we start with Children of the Spore. Even after Anne of the Year and the big finale, this is my new favorite episode of the series. It was like we've had some horror stuff in past episodes, but this was actually legitimately scary. The the idea of cordyceps style fungal zombies is not new. Like, it wasn't even new with Last of Us, if you think about it. This actually even dates back to stuff like Pokemon Generation 1. Parasect is legitimately controlled by the fungus on its back. This is a canonical thing. So it's like, this isn't a new concept. It's literally based off of the real life cordyceps fungus. It's not some fictionalized kind of thing. I can't speak, you know that. So it's always fun to see this pop up. Last of Us obviously like really popularized this kind of thing and made it a lot more well known. People who never knew about cordyceps found out about it. And like there's real videos of like cordyceps like taking over ants and stuff, and it's like it's actually really freaky if you've ever seen those kind of videos. So to see that like so actively showcased in this series was something I just would never have expected, because it's actively linked to horror. And again, while there is horror based segments in the past with this, or at least stuff that leans towards that degree, especially with that Polly episode and the cannibalistic horned frogs, or horned toads. Were they toads or frogs? I'm not sure. But either way, the cannibalistic, I think they were frogs. Even with them, it's like, yeah, that was definitely horror based, but it kept it very light horror. It never actually got full on scary. There was like the one moment with the skeletal figure turning the head, and that was scary. But everything else in the episode was just like, okay, this is kind of freaky. There's the horror basis. I love it. But it never really went too far. This took it a step further. This episode actually made it legitimately terrifying. And at first, like, the first time you see them in their, like, controlled state, just mindlessly obeying Hop Pop, that alone is honestly scary. That alone is freaky as hell. I mean, I don't, maybe it's just me, but I've always been kind of freaked out by the idea of that kind of thing, of, like, people kind of in this mindless state, just completely controlled and obeying someone else's orders without any kind of emotion or anything on their face and all of that. It's just like that kind of thing has always freaked me out. So to see Anne, Polly, and Sprig facing that in this episode, just like, my God. And then on top of that, when everything's revealed, and like the first time you see Anne pop out of the basement with the mushrooms growing out of her, it made me jump. Like, oh my God, that actually scared me when that happened. I did not expect it. I did not see it coming. And then as it continued, and everyone is infected by the mushrooms, and Apothecary Barry reveals himself to, or Gary, not Barry. Apothecary Gary reveals himself to be the body of a frog being controlled like a zombie by this giant fungus. It's just like, oh my fucking God. Like, it was like, this was not hiding the horror behind some lightheartedness like the other episode had. The other episode never went far enough. It was great. I loved it. but it never went far enough with it to where it would actually be truly scary. This went far enough. And there was a little bit of lightheartedness in it, but very little, and it never detracted from the horror aspects once that started up. Um, and it's just freaked me the fuck out. And it's just, oh my god. And yeah, Hop Hop and them are not even. No. What he did is so much drastically worse than them messing up his model ship. And what they were doing was definitely wrong. He was right to be angry, but what he did, his response was way out of line. It was so disproportionate, and it's just like, and especially like after the fact, it's like you kind of have to acknowledge that after you see them turned into fucking mushroom zombies. Like, Jesus. And then we had Anne of the Year, the second half of episode 19. So apparently Wortwood has this Frog of the Year award every year where one of the frogs of the town are basically given this seat of honor and get to plan a party for everyone. This year, everyone votes for Anne. And so she, in order to get back at the mayor, who's basically trash talking her, telling her she doesn't deserve this, she decides she has to throw the best party ever. And because of it, she pushes the planters a little too far. She pushes them into doing things they're either not ready for or not good at, and it just causes issues. Luckily, she manages to save the day, along with, surprisingly enough, the mayor's help. And everything goes better, to put it simply. And then the cliffhanger happens. The Toads arrive, led by Sasha. Anne and Sasha's reunion is not what I expected. I didn't expect them. I expected Anne to freak out like that, but I didn't expect Sasha to freak out and just go all giddy like that. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I think there's more to Sasha. Which, let's talk about that now. So going into episode 20, the finale, which is called what again? I don't think I realized. Reunion, that's right. I did see that. So Sasha and Anne reunite, but Sasha's brought the Toads. And so she and the Toads invite the frogs of Wortwood to another party, this time at the tower. And after some prodding, Anne agrees to allow it. During this time, we see flashbacks of 3 months ago, prior to Anne arriving in Amphibia, where she, on her 13th birthday, was getting picked on by a girl named Maggie and was saved and protected by Sasha. Her and Sasha, who are best friends, then decide to skip school for the rest of the day, and they go just to kind of hang out and have good time shenanigans. Because it's Anne's birthday, though, Sasha wants to spend the entire day with her. And this is the interesting part. If you really pay attention, Sasha is actively clinging to Anne. Like, as someone who has had that issue myself, who very much has clinged on to people and been very afraid to lose them, I can see the signs here. Sasha is clinging on to Anne. I don't know the reasons, but there's something going on. Maybe Anne is her only friend. That's a possibility. Well, okay, besides Marcy. Maybe Anne and Marcy are her only friends, and maybe she's very clingy because of it. There's another word I was trying to think of, another phrase. But yeah, maybe she's just really clingy because of that. She doesn't want to lose them because they're all she has. That's the only thing I can think of. But she is obviously clinging to Anne. Like, at any moment where Anne talks about like having to leave, Sasha either waves her off or even actively manipulates her into staying with her and going with her to meet up with Marcy and everything. There is a lot to this. I can very much see the signs because, again, I've been in that position. So I don't, even with this episode and even with Sasha and Anne fighting and everything, I don't think Sasha is by any means evil. In fact, we even see at the end there, she actively lets go, even admitting basically that she was wrong and saying that Anne doesn't really need her and stuff. So it's like there's something there for sure. But yeah, so they go to the tower, the frogs go to this banquet hall, where eventually Sprig realizes that they're prisoners there. There's a banquet, there's all kinds of good food, but they're still being kept there as prisoners. And Anne soon finds out, after hanging out with Sasha for a little bit, that Grime and the Toads are planning to execute Hop Pop. That he is falsely being labeled as a rebel leader because of some really kind of stupid little things that have happened previously in the season, like him running for mayor against a toad and everything. So these little things apparently have inspired rebellions elsewhere in Amphibia, and so because of that, the Toads think he's like actively leading some rebellion. So Anne is obviously freaked out by this. She goes to help them escape, and then has to end up, after they get caught, getting into a battle with Sasha. A one-on-one battle for the fate of the frogs. And yeah, this was definitely set up with the sword training that she received. And even though she didn't have her sword there, she managed to get one. And she was able to break out of Sasha's manipulations in order to fight her and protect her found family. And Sasha, we can very much clearly see through this episode, she's doing all of this to get home. She wants to get home. That is her goal. When Anne stands up for the planners and all, you see her anger, but you also see her confused. It's like, don't you want to go home? Don't you want to see your family again? She's actively confused as to why Anne would do this. Not just because Anne had said previously that she thought frogs were gross, but because like the idea of going back home to their world just seems like an obvious motivation for Sasha, because it's what she's feeling. And so she believes that Anne has to be feeling the same way. And yes, Anne is. She does want to get home. That is very much a goal of hers. But at the same time, she doesn't want to turn on her friends in order to do it. Like, Sasha's kind of made friends with the Toads, too. So Sasha's kind of in the same place. Would she turn on the Toads to do it? Honestly, with Sasha, it's hard to say. But Anne would never turn on her friends. That's not who she is. She didn't even technically turn on Sasha. Sasha turned on her. That's the only reason she started to fight her. Only to defend her own friends. And so, with the fight, Anne ends up winning, but Grime refuses to stick to his word and decides to try and execute Hop Pop anyways. And, yeah. Wally had planted some bombs and blows the tower up. So that's fun. The tower blows up. Sasha almost falls to her death. Anne and them save her, but she eventually lets go, deciding that Anne would be better off without her, and Grime ends up saving her. The Toads and an unconscious Sasha get away, and yeah, Anne is not okay. This season does not end on a good note. It does not end on any level of positivity. This was a sad ending. And I think that's a good thing. Because this very much has seemed like a series where they've almost kind of manufactured happy endings at a couple points. where it feels like this would have been better if the ending wasn't so squeaky clean. Would have been better if things were not as great in the end of the episode, even if things in the next episode went back to normal, or the next segment or whatnot. But I think some episodes would have benefited a little better from having endings where things just didn't work out. It wouldn't have to be like entirely depressing or sad like the ending to the season was, but just something a little more, you know. But this is, I think, the best option here, because with Sasha's personality, she wasn't going to completely turn over to Anne's side here. That wasn't going to happen. And obviously Anne is not going to be okay after facing that kind of thing. I don't feel like there would be a way to really make this have a happy ending and make it feel natural. They would have had to change, like, basically the entire concept of the episode. Or they would have to force Sasha to change her mind, which would feel completely unnatural. So I'm glad they did it this way. This was actually a really smart decision that I really appreciate. And yeah, like, it was a genuinely good ending to the season. Like, it's I didn't know exactly what to expect. I knew Sasha would be back, that was obvious. I knew the sword training would come in handy, that was obvious. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but you heard my theories, and yeah, it was pretty kind of what I would figure. I wasn't expecting the party aspect or the executing of Hop Pop for sure. Those caught me off guard. But like Anne and Sasha coming to a difference of opinion and coming to blows, it's like, oh yeah, definitely saw that coming. The Toads getting involved and becoming an enemy, oh yeah. There's certain things that it's just like were obviously going to happen for a finale, and I think that it didn't really surprise in any way in regards to that. Now, we did not learn the secret of the box, so that's still out there for the future. The music box is still buried. We didn't learn pretty much anything about its origin or just anything about it in this episode, in this finale. All we learned is when, and I guess where, Sasha, Marcy, and Anne found it. That's it. That doesn't really tell us anything. So, yeah. But I just think it's a really interesting mystery that's probably going to be the core mystery for the entire series. Like, I don't know, I think this is on season 3 currently, but I don't know if it's ending with season 3. I don't know what's planned for this series. But I feel like that's going to be one of the last mysteries revealed. They're probably going to wait until the final season to reveal that, and possibly even the second half of the final season. That honestly just makes sense to me. I think season 3 of Amphibia actually returns on the same day as Owl House. Obviously, I won't be caught up by then, but... So, season 3 I don't think is actually done yet. If I'm right about that. So yeah, I don't know, like, what the plans for that is, but... Either way, I think it's pretty clear that I very much enjoyed this finale. I very much enjoyed episode 19, which technically was pre-finale still. And 19A, definitely my new favorite segment, mini-sode, whatever you want to call it, of the season. But maybe I should make an entire list of my favorite segments, my favorite mini-sodes of the series, of the season. That could be a fun list to make, to figure out exactly which were my favorites and all. I already know some of them that would be on the list, but I'm not 100% sure on the order and everything, outside of the number 1. That I might do that. But, yeah, this clearly means we're continuing with season 2. This finale impressed me. it not only gave us the proper payoff to some things that were built up, but it kept certain mysteries a secret for now and actually added a new one with Sasha. I'm invested in Sasha at this point. Like, I'm sure there's some people who watched this finale and got like angry with her and like maybe even turned on her and everything. But no, I see pain there. There's something wrong. Wrong. Yeah, there's something wrong. I think I missaid that at first. Again, as someone who has been clingy towards people, towards friends and everything, and has even manipulated friends in the past to try and keep them my friends. As someone who's been that way, not necessarily in the same way as her, but something I've definitely done, I can see that there's something going on here. Whether it's just that she doesn't have anyone else or there's something else going on, I don't know. But I'm very invested in her character. She is, without question, my favorite character. It's not even close. And still just, I don't get what they said in Anne of the Year. It's like, you've grown so much. It's like, she has? She seems like this exact same character from episode 1. She has not really grown that much at all. Like, where are you seeing this growth? And as I've said before, it's not that Anne's a bad character, she's just boring. Like, the growth actually happened after that. The growth was her actually choosing not to be manipulated anymore by Sasha. That was growth. But at the point where that was said, in the Anne of the Year segment, she hadn't had any. It was actually in the finale itself where she faced growth. So it's like, you're kind of like jumping the gun there. The growth comes in next episode. Maybe that's just me. I know people have like said that they've kind of felt the opposite way towards Anne and really liked her and everything. I know I may be in the minority on this and all. And again, I don't hate her. There's almost no characters in this series that I actively hate. I just find her boring compared especially to main characters of other series that I really love, especially modern ones that in a way are connected to this one. Owl House, like the creators of Owl House and Amphibia are actually pretty good friends, and they've both made references to each other's shows in their own. They're actually really good friends, and like the shows are undoubtedly connected. And I think Luz is just like leagues better as a main character. Personally, it's just opinion. With Ghost of Molly McGee, I like Molly McGee so much more. And again, it's I want to make it clear, I don't dislike Anne. It's just she doesn't do anything for me. She just doesn't have as much personality or character or interesting like roles to play. She's goofy and silly, but that's about it. She's not even like noticeably goofy and silly. I think maybe part of it, a weird way to describe it is she almost feels too normal. I think that's the best way to describe it. Like compared to Luz and Molly, who are quite a bit over the top and very weird, Anne feels normal. Like she feels like a normal girl, a normal 13-year-old kid, someone who's around that age. Like she's a little goofy and a little weird, but not in any noticeably over the top way. Not even a little bit. And for some shows, I feel like that works better than others. And this series, I think, like you need a character who's a little more over the top. Because of the world and the situations, it's like you need to have that kind of energy to bounce off of. Anne doesn't have that for me. That's why I like Sasha so much, because she's different, she's unique, she's not a normal kid. There's clearly some issues going on with her, but even before we figured that out, it's like there was clearly more to her even in her first appearance. And yeah, it's just other characters have been much more interesting and unique and over the top in the right ways, that it's just Anne just does not stick out. But again, there have been moments where I have liked her, and there have been moments where she really has shined. But I just wish those were more often. And maybe the growth that she will face going forward now, after this experience, will help. Maybe things will change for the better. I don't know. I can only guess. But that all being said, we are done with season 1 now. So season 2 will not begin right away. We'll get to it at some point in the future. But yeah, I'm genuinely glad that this was chosen as a donation reward so I could give it another chance, because it has in a lot of ways proved me wrong. It's still not perfect or anything. I still would not consider it anywhere near the level of Ghost of Milo McGee or Owl House. But it's definitely proved me wrong and definitely improved a lot. So I'm very happy about that. Hopefully, season 2 and 3 follow through with this and don't just go back to the way it had been. I don't expect every episode to be serialized from here on out or anything, but I really want it to not just go back to the very mixed quality that it had become very apparent with in season 1. I want it to actually keep that step up that they made. Keep the stepped up quality. So I really hope they do that. So, as you know from what I had said in that video about the schedule changes and all, the other week, yeah, starting this next week, the schedule is changing and all. This slot is actually moving to Sundays and is being replaced as with the Pull series slot. So Cuphead show will be replacing is what is technically replacing Amphibia, but things are just all being switched around and everything. So yeah, if you have not seen somehow the schedule video, just look it up. It came out within the past couple weeks. I pre-record these videos, so it's hard to remember exactly when everything came out, when I put everything up and all. But yeah, let me know what you think of this finale down in the comments below, and let me know if you actually would enjoy seeing me make a countdown list of my 10 favorite episode segments of season 1. I'm definitely thinking of doing it, but I'd love to hear your input as well. But for now, yeah. For now, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.